chairman for this session and distinguished delegates. Very good morning to all of you.
Good morning.
Very good morning.
Good morning.
Just wake up. It's already 10:30. Just to give a brief background about me. I have done BTech from IIT Madras, MBA from DT, and I was in the industry for 30 years before plunging into education. In the industry, I was in manufacturing, and bulk of the time in the IT industry, and out of that, 18 years I spent in HCL technology, HCL system, and various joint ventures. For the last 10 years, I have been into education. Let me tell you, I plunged into education by choice. Not, there are some people that take to education without choice. Some people get into that, they are forced into that. What I thought was, being in the industry, eternally we used to complain. I recruited thousands of people. Every time, we selected was and we reject so many. Then we say, what's this education system in the country? And they study from IIT, they come from IIM, but they don't know anything. So I thought that complaining is enough. Let me see what's there on the other side, what's that I can do. It's easy to complain, but let me see what is that I can do on the other side. That's how I came to education. For the last 10 years, I have been in ICFI. I set up some business schools for Europe. I set up an applied research and consulting group for the Europe. And for the last 2.5 years, I'm the vice chancellor for the ICFI University branches. When we talk of ICFI, in fact, ICFI, like some of them mentioned about how the private education has started in India. It was started by an entrepreneur who was very passionate on building something, a quality education in India with access and with also principle that yes, merit can survive. He said, our income is merit of ethicals. He said, we stand on two principles. Merit and ethics. When he started this 30 years back, at that point of time, well, the first point is understood, but the second point, people said in India, you can't conduct an education ethically. He said, let me sort of find out and see, how that cannot be done. And we went through problems, we went through issues, because we were ethical, sort of we were harassed. But at the same time, we went through that, whether in terms of regulation or other. And now, like in fact, another principle on which the entire effect was founded was, he said it's very easy to have a unity campus in Hyderabad. We come from Hyderabad. You can have a huge campus, about 100 acres of campus. We can accommodate thousands of students there, not 1,000 lakhs. But at the same time, he said, instead of asking everybody from Kashmir and maybe Northeast and all over the country to come to Hyderabad, he said, let's take quality education to places where quality education is not there. That again is a daunting task. Those of you that have been in education would have realized to set up a huge campus in Chennai, to set up a huge campus in Hyderabad is easy. But to set up campuses across the country, particularly in remote areas, is very difficult. That's where, as a group, we ventured and we said that, yes, apart from Hyderabad, now we have got, 10 more universities. Out of these universities, 5 of our universities are in the Northeast. I guess that most of us would not have even traveled to Northeast. Traveling itself is a big problem to that. Out of the 7 Northeast sisters, we are operating in 5 states. And yesterday when I was talking to some people, I said, I'm coming from Jharkhand. He said, oh, Jharkhand. I said, yeah, what is wrong with Jharkhand? Bihar, Jharkhand, none of us go for business. He said, yes, we go to Jharkhand. What is Chhattisgarh? Not some coastal areas. Education is required there also. And it's required quality education. so that these people should not go somewhere else. The local economies have prospered for that. That is how we have started up in terms of that. Yes, no doubt we went through process, we went through issues, and we are coming out in terms of that. And coming towards to, our chairman in the beginning, he said, just briefly tell us what are the things that you have done, maybe possibly like in fact, I would say somebody else has not done, but just try to think of. Thinking of soft skills, thinking of employability, thinking of new technology, all that, I think every university does. A couple of areas where we thought that, yes, over the years we noticed, while the students are becoming smarter, more intelligent, learning much faster, the learning capacity much faster than our own generation, and in the next generation for that matter, more ambitious, but at the same time, one thing we find that is going down or positively lacking in character. In industry, just a few weeks back, the director personnel of ITC said, when I'm reporting people, he said, the most important thing I see the character. He said, people can sort of learn. You can read a book, you can stay. You can train them on skills. But attitudes and character, you can't train. That is something that has to be cultivated over a period of time. So, as a university, as a group, we said that we should focus on that. Otherwise, the fabric of society will get disturbed. Because, like in fact, earlier we used to say that corruption is not specific. Corruption is a negative problem. And it has got spread all over. Now into the younger generation. If you read, I think yesterday, day before yesterday's newspaper, it says that 50% of the students are filed in Mumbai. They admitted their intellectual malpractice. It's not limited to poor children, not from the society, from the low section, not from the people that are not intelligent, It is from Mumbai. They admitted, they said, Mumbai did admitted that, sir, this we have not seen in the past. They said we started seeing this in the last 8 years. In fact, if you ask me, one challenge that we have got for education, be it private, be it or government is, on how to cultivate and build the character of our students. That is the foundation for the society. Keeping this in mind, particularly in my university where I have been operating into that, we have introduced values and ethics. I'm not talking about corporate values, I'm not talking about corporate ethics. We have introduced personal values and personal ethics as a compulsory course for all of our programs. Undergraduate programs, postgraduate programs, including our PhD program evaluation. We know that as educationists, coming from engineering, I can teach engineering. Coming from management, I can teach into that. We realize that cultivating character is not easy. We haven't been sort of learned. Parents have taught us into that. Our schools have taught us into that. Environment has taught us into that. So here what we did was, we went and sort of we are cooperating or have taken the help of Ramakrishna Mission Ashram. Because these are the people that understand human nature. They know how to cultivate character in terms of that. So we are new to that. Let me be very honest in telling you. I can give a lecture, but on how to do that is not easy process. As a matter of fact, we requested Swamiji himself one case takes a few classes. Our teachers have been trained by Ramakrishna Mission. Because our teachers were not trained on how to teach, and how to inculcate values into that. Possibly some of them themselves have to build their own character into that. So keeping this in mind, we got to be transparent and honest. We can't say that we know everything. This is one experiment we tried. In fact, we have said that the last year and a half we are doing. In fact, Ramakrishna Mission Ashram, he told me, he said, Professor Rao, so many people came and told me they want to introduce values and everything. But he said, you have to first, you have not implemented. Up to Lagu Kiyate, in the Hindi verse he said. And they have given us an award recently. He said that, for your efforts in doing this. He said, it's not easy. Please understand, particularly in a region like Bihar and Jharkhand, it's also not difficult. Nothing wrong with that region because of the ambience, because of the way they go into that. This is the land of, lands have correction possibly in the past. Then the second thing, if you ask me, what is the real right to something, let me tell you on the values and ethics. If you ask me, to all of your students, to all of your teachers right now, they got excellent character, science and all. We are on our way. Possibly, in fact, it's a continuous effort. It will take time. You're seeing small signs of improvement, but it takes a long time. Because the student or auditor that comes to us, from the system, on how to perhaps not learn, how to unlearn a lot of things. We have got lots of problems in making them unlearn, not just learning. Then the second thing what we try to do was, today, after somebody does a professional education, they say, I'm looking for a job. No doubt. Because after all, maybe jobs is one aspect. But can somebody create a job for himself? That is what is entrepreneurship. Maybe India is not that small there, but it's a small project. If you see, there are countries that are built on entrepreneurship. You take a country like Germany, the MSME, the contribution to the country's economy is very huge. In the area of 50%. But whereas in our case, numbers are there, but the contribution is very high. That is one aspect. The second aspect is the industry, they look for people, not just a cog in the wheel. Possibly the government will say that do what you are told. But today industry says that you must take initiative. They say that you must have an entrepreneurial thinking. There is, you don't own the entire thing, but you work, the way you work, the way you take decisions, you must do it such a way that it's your own company. That is something that has come all over. We believe that in the students you need to inculcate the spirit of entrepreneurship, the thinking of entrepreneurship, and how to act entrepreneurially. It doesn't mean that just because they teach them, we're going to start a company in terms of that. Maybe they start a company after some time, but in their own life, in their own working, they must have entrepreneurial thinking. Keeping this in mind, in our university, we have introduced entrepreneurship as a compulsory course, not as an elective, for all of our programs. So let's see how it takes into that and how entrepreneurship create. There, as an ecosystem, we are collaborating with, there again, Ramakrishna Mission, they are doing a lot of work on rural entrepreneurship. We are helping them. They have technology. In fact, as a matter of fact, we go train their rural entrepreneurs. They are not graduates. They are not villagers. Because I went and asked Swamiji, how many of your rural entrepreneurs, have scaled up? He said, they started, they are there, he said, they have 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 a year. When did they start? They said, 5 years or 10 years. But I said, how did they scale up? Instead of having a employment for 1 or 2, they give for 10, 15. That is an area we are helping. The first batch of training we have done for the rural entrepreneurship, there are school dropouts, they do honey beekeeping, doing flowers, vegetables, this kind of thing. If you ask me, like, in fact, we are not there just to train them in life. Because tomorrow, when we do this kind of a thing, when you talk of management, when you talk of management principles, the real application, the real benefit of the country will come from there. Not by training the youth and giving them to money like that. That is another thought that is there in my mind. And we are working, possibly in 40 years time, we will something. And another kind of initiative we have taken was, while most of us in the industry, in the education, our target market is the students. No doubt there could be people to that. But at the same time, those are the people that enter the industry. They want to higher education. Nothing wrong. Maybe something like 10 years back, 15 years back. Somebody has done graduation after that, post graduation. No doubt distance education is there. But distance education, quality, and this is not there, this is the. Keeping this in mind, in the branches city, we say, we have got an MBA program for the working professionals. Focused on only working people like that. We started last year, we started with that. And more importantly, increasingly more and more industry people, they want to come and teach. Today, as per the UGC regulations, if they have to teach MBA, they need to have a PhD. Apart from that, there are a lot of people from industry, they want to do research as a passion, not in a traditional area, in the area of their choice, where they have got a lot of experience. Keeping this in mind, we have launched a PhD program for the working professionals. It's a part-time program. We made it very student-friendly. Let me tell you, we got excellent response. I'm not talking numbers, the profile of people. We are not able to get to hundreds and hundreds. We put a limit, you see that? So in the first batch, we took 19 people. Second batch, we took 90. Third batch, by the time we were fully geared up, we understood how to manage them. We have taken 28 people. We have taken 66 scholars. They were all selected on the all India basis. The research aptitude test. Let me tell you, their age range was to find a while we said the minimum experience what they should have is 40 years. They got experience starting at 5 years, going up to 35, 40 years. The so-called, the oldest person that is doing PhD with us is older than me, 65 years. So just because somebody is 65 years, why should you bother not to PhD? This person, it's a lady, she has retired as a general manager of State Bank of Mysore in Bangalore. She wants to PhD, nothing wrong. We have got people coming from sales and marketing, coming from industry, banking, government, and all of them have passion. I want to do research in this area. They again have taken another step ahead. We noticed that most of the PhD programs, including the IIMs, including the XLRI, we noticed they have got silos. They asked her right in the beginning, Madam, you want to do PhD in what area? Human resources, finance, marketing, strategy. We don't ask that question. We tell them, do research in whatever area you want. With the result, 60% of our scholars, they are doing research in the interdisciplinary areas. Let's all understand, real life problems, they don't come in silos. There is nothing like a marketing problem. There is nothing like a HR problem. They come all together. There is no technology problem. We encourage our scholars to do PhD in the interdisciplinary areas in the area they want. For instance, you take corporate social responsibility. Which domain it belongs? Is it HR? Is it marketing? Is it technology? Where does it belong? You don't know, isn't it? If you are talking of social marketing to market IT products, where does it belong? Is it marketing? Is it HR? Is it technology? Where is it? Increasingly, you notice that, unless and otherwise you follow the interdisciplinary approach, then you will not solve real problems. As rightly somebody mentioned, you want a PhD title, but that doesn't help at all. These are a few initiatives what we have taken. Because like this, I'll go on. I'm sorry, I'll not take so much time for that.
Thank you.
Talking of the teachers sort of availability of teachers is a problem. While every one of us can cry more saying that they are not available, the problem will not get solved. The problem will get solved because there is a lot of flooding into that. Take at least a little bit of sand and stop some part of it to that. The way what we are trying to do, just as Professor Datta has mentioned in the case of KLU, we said that number one, we cannot simply say that we should take only a person who is a teacher or a trainee. Instead, we say, let's try and attract talent from everywhere, first of all. That's the first thing, you have to capture the market. We noticed that there are a lot of people coming from the industry, a lot of people from banks, they want to come to teach. But unfortunately, today in our education system, we do not encourage them, we do not allow them. What we did was, today, public sector bankers, what force they are all transferred here there. After some time, they say, okay, enough. Sometimes there will be age problem, it's 50, 55. Today, typically, what is fine? You are 50, 55, 60, khadam, strike. What is wrong with them? As long as he is energetic, as long as he can teach, maybe he hasn't taught in the past. What we do is, we capture this kind of people, we train them, because in terms of teaching skills, class management, students, you need to have some inputs into them. We found excellent teachers out of that. Typically bankers, public sector bankers in terms of that. Similarly, we have taken people from defense. Defense after some time, after that he wants to become a teacher. What is wrong? So to that extent, while training is good, what we try to do is we try to cast our net wider to see that what are the people available. Including in our own city like Ranchi, to get teachers to the problem. We take retired people, retired industry people. They are settled there, they will not go anywhere. And they are passionate, they have good value systems, their entire lifetime experience that we can leverage for our students, rather than taking a fresher from them. These are a few things what we are doing. So now, coming into with regard to the private university, they forward. I would rather put in something like that instead of making a statement that private universities is the only way forward. Please bear me for a few minutes. I would like to put a question mark. Then try and say, sir, whether it is right or not. Let's not say, after all, as a researcher, no researcher will say that this is the conclusion. This has to come out of understanding the problem and raising it. So coming into that, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry in fact, if I'm transgressing the time, just give me, I think, can I have 5-10 minutes?
No, not 10 minutes. You have, let's say, 2 or 3 minutes.
So I have a few points to talk in terms of that, 2 minutes, you can
Yes, yes, please.
Yeah, 2 minutes you can give it. Thank you very much into that. Sir, we will look at 2 issues. One issue is the access, the second issue is the quality. As far the access is concerned, the private education has done a lot. Today, like in fact, if the kind of a GR has gone up in that, the contribution of the private education is very high. More so, in engineering, today 91% of the enrollments happening in the private education. Management it is 64%, hotel management 94%. But in the traditional kind of domains, maybe you can have this one. Then the private education could scale up a lot when compared with the government education. That is the second area. The third trend, what you notice is the first generation of private education entrepreneurs, they were all entrepreneurs or people with a political background in some states. I don't know. But the second generation of kind of the people that are getting into education, they are from industry. And people coming from industry, whether it is the Shivnara group, whether it is going to be Munjar group, whether it is M&M, whosoever it is, they come with certain advantages. They have got a financial stamina, they have industry background. Somebody mentioned that they are all for profit, let me tell you, they don't need profit. And compared to thousands of crores in just a chicken feed. Whereas the other type of people they did. But they bring lot of advantage, lot of staying power, lot of inherent advantages next to it. Then looking at the quality, I believe that the purpose of the universities particularly is not to educate. Education is one part. We need to disseminate knowledge. We also need to create knowledge. That is way, there is a difference between a business school and a university. There is a difference between engineering college and a university. To that extent, there has to be research focus. Research and publication focus. Let's not blame, rating agencies into that. That has to be there. Keeping this in mind, at this point of time, if you ask me what is the solution for that, there has to be, like in fact, traditionally there have been private universities that have been operating. Their focus have been mostly non-professional courses. Nothing wrong. Arts and commerce, science, and various things like that. And we have got centers of excellence, premier schools. We have got IITs, we have got IISs. They are also doing a great job. Then in between we have got the private universities for education that is done. If you make an analysis, what you notice is the core competence of the traditional universities have been non-professional courses. It doesn't mean to say that some of them are not good. There have been islands of excellence, but generally their strength is that. The premier kind of the educational excellence, they do specific areas, but they build huge infrastructure. They can attract very good talent in that. Then the private education, our strength has been more in the professional business. Keeping this in mind, country as a whole, there needs to be kind of a landscape. We need to have a structure so that an architecture for the education in India, where everybody cannot do everything. Today, like in fact, if you are asking something like the IIT to do research, they say, oh, so many students are there for the undergraduate, what will I do? And if you ask, maybe private industry to do research, somebody that started 1 year back, 2 years back, they have to build up, they have to scale up. It requires that gestation period. In view of this, my view is, we need to have an architecture whereby you can have foundational institutions. The focus is on humanities, basic sciences, and the commerce and the law, like that kind of thing. They build skills, talent, relevant to the industry in the local area. After all, you don't require engineering in every area in terms of that. They may require, but they focus more on the local areas. And the second type of a thing, I would say, professional institution. They are more career oriented, nothing wrong. You have to have a career in the students and also that. The engineering, business, computers, medicine, they can be some other into that. The skills needed for the industry is the focus area. And sort of there in terms of, it is a pan-India deployment. You can scale up, scaling up is required in terms of that. And that's where the private universities, private industry, initially they can start. Third one is a research output focus. There, we are talking of research, we are talking of publications across the world in terms of that. That's where the current premier institutions, they have to focus. Today, if somebody has to focus on that, they have to defocus on something. If you ask me, the IITs, the original IITs that have started, or the 7 IITs that are there, they should defocus on undergraduate education, if you ask me. Because IIT Madras, IIT Delhi, they cannot compete with the other IITs, other NITs and others to that. The original set of IITs, the original initial set of NITs, let them focus more on master's education, postgraduate education, research, consulting. The research can be into sort of pure technology areas, science areas, application areas, industry areas. That is where I think we can grow it. And coming into, in fact, they must do a lot of product development, product innovation, patents. Today, IIT say we produce good graduates. We talked of MIT, but why IITs cannot set up and compete with, cannot be the same level as MIT? Why IIM cannot be the same level as Harvard? That is an area which we have to look at. Then, a few other things I would like to say is, it doesn't mean to say others cannot do research. Every tier of institution, they have to do research relevant for their own type of, whatever domain they are working on. But somebody in the private, you have to do research on pedagogy. You have to research on how to train the students and get education. Skills, what are the market demand? These are all the areas. And if sort of, similarly, each one of them can sort of move up apart from scaling up, moving up the value chain. One expansion is the volume expansion for a private university. Second expansion can be into moving up. Then only one point I would like to sort of that. Then currently there is a watertight compartment between private universities and government universities. In my view, this education is one. There have to be an architecture whereby the IITs, IIMs, sort of, they should help even the sort of private universities. They have to similarly, if you are talking of, for long we have been talking of industry academic, partnership, there have to be initiatives. There have to be proactive initiatives from the government to facilitate that. Thank you very much. I'm sorry I have taken more time to answer.